Greetings and welcome to Dr. G Office Hours with Dr. G. I'm your host, Dr. G, and I am so glad that you could keep our appointment. I know you are as excited about tonight as I am, because we got one of our most popular favorite, I don't even want to call it a guest, but for sake of what it is, coming on, none other than Chief Pontiac, aka Brother Rodney Hayes. And tonight he's going to discuss the fact that we'll discuss it. I'll put my two cents worth in, that we may have dodged the bullet, but the weapon is still loaded. Now he needs no introduction. We just gonna rock out with the music, and we're gonna bring our brother on so we can get started. Welcome back to the house. How you doing? How you doing, Chief Pontiac?
I'm doing pretty fair for a square.
Look, I'm glad that you could take time out of your busy schedule. I know you're busy and come on here, but you tried to make time for us, and I'm glad that tonight is no exception. I'm excited about the conversation, or at least about the edutainment that you're gonna give us, that you can give us the information, because you always have a plethora of information and knowledge to share. And we've just had some things that have happened over the last 7 days. 1 week ago, today, it was a monumental day for some and a total letdown for others. Really depends on what side you were of the fence you were standing on, or if you were even on the fence at all. You may not even give a shit what happened. So, but tonight, you know, some folks might feel like everything is everything if that's the way they were looking for things. But either way you go, you know, you have to look at it from a standpoint of their weapons are always loaded, ready. And tonight we're gonna talk about that. How's that?
We can get it in.
That's me. Wow. Greetings and salutations, Islam, namaste, and everything else. Assalamu alaikum. I am using a different studio layout today, Chief, and I can't figure out where everything is because I'm in like dark mode. It doesn't look the same. So y'all, if I be up here messing up, it's because I have changed the I've used the new background that StreamYard has and a new setup, and so I got to get used to it. But greetings. I'm so glad. I'm glad that that you are here. I'm glad that you, and even you are here too. So without any further delay, let's get to it. Let's talk about what's going on and what has taken place even in the last 7 days that we all need to be aware of.
Hold on 1 second, Dr. G. I'm having issues with you.
Okay. Oops.
I had another app that started playing on its own.
Oh, okay. There you are.
Yeah, so it has been a lot going on. I was telling people that Kamala's job was to fail miserably as the fall of the whore of Babylon. Right?
Okay.
The purple and the pearls for the inauguration was the signal and showed you where you was at in the book of Revelations.
Now, what inauguration are we talking about? The one that was Biden's inauguration, or what?
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Okay. Now, when she came in, we forgot that Trump was standing in front of the church with the upside down Bible, and we forgot about Nancy Pelosi tearing up the minutes in the Senate in front of the camera.
I remember that.
Right. Those are two different contracts being closed out on the same day.
Okay.
One is the biblical contract for the blood oaths, and the other one was the fraudulent contracts for the corporation to govern the people. Now, what led to that was the January 6th thing.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when the dude took the land flag, the one with no fringes, he sat at Pelosi's desk, right? And he was behind the Admiralty flag. That was the transfer of jurisdiction. So when you go back and listen to who sent him, you find out he was working with a shaman from the land, but he was also working with military top brass, right? We forget about that. Okay, so that was reclaiming the republic from the Democratic corporation, right? Democracy is told to us in a fictitious form.
Mm-hmm.
When you read all communist documents about the adding of communism into a governmental system, they all refer to it as democracy.
Mm.
Right? So remember, Noble Drew Ali said the elephant is our friend. Right? He also said, I left a watchdog for the people, and the watchdog is the elephant. And then the Hopi prophecy talked about the man in the red hat. Right? That's recorded from back in 74, before Trump was even considered for the presidential campaigns. Right? So the MAGA hat, the red hat, went from a white hat to a red hat to a black and gold hat. Colors is flipping the different organizational redemptions that's being made through the MAGA process. So you got tribal operations going on in the midst of standard government operating procedures.
Mm-hmm.
So you watching the tribes do something, allowing the government to artificially run, and the tribes is piggybacking on that artificial narrative in order to get clues across the land in everybody's face, behind their back. Only the ones who know gonna know what the codes are.
Okay.
Right? So the Schumann resident go crazy when on election day.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that's a massive response from a solar flare.
Now, it's the solar flare. You know, people are talking about, some people talk about the solar flare as it would be something to be feared or to stay away from. And then I hear others saying, you know, it's a good thing, and it's only going to, if it has a negative effect, it's only on those that shouldn't be here.
It's gonna turn some people's clocks off. Their time is up.
You mean they tick us, like,
yeah,
right?
They life script has ran its course when that voltage go through. That's what they call the great solar flash. They're looking for it to happen any day now. Then
So
when that happened, right? So when that happened, it's supposed to have a massive effect on the Schumann resonance because the Earth and the Sun is communicating. In order for Earth to get rid of the parasites, the UV rays have to be calibrated to the frequency required to get rid of the parasites. And Earth read the human parasites by mitochondrial resonance. The mitochondrial is the powerhouse of the cell. And from the source of the power comes the source of the remedy. So it has to be able to communicate what the DNA say back to the source.
Okay.
Right. So then the the mitochondrial is represented in the soil of the earth. This is how you could tell a better DNA match would be the DNA to the soil for us than it would DNA to a tribe.
Okay.
The people from the land have a DNA sequence that's characteristic of the soil of the land. They already know this, though. This is common scientific information that they just don't talk about. It's like they don't push it to the forefront because they don't want you to know they can test the land to see if you from it, matching it to your blood.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's what they used to
do. Have they been doing any of that anyway? All along when they've taken a little sample of blood from the babies and
they always, anytime they taking blood, they experimenting on it and investigating the developments in the genome. That's why they take so much to run the tests that require a drop.
And then all of these centers around that are paying drug addicts and everybody else to get to donate blood. The purpose is probably more nefarious than we think.
Yeah, well, the vampires got to use the blood banks in order to stay stocked up with enough human blood to survive.
Never thought of it that way.
That's why they call them blood banks.
Because you can make a deposit, you can make a withdrawal.
Right. And the ones can go to the cash bank and then deliver to the blood bank and exchange a currency for the value in blood.
Really?
Yeah, why do you think they pay you for blood? Then they also can use the cover story of emergency hospital usage to justify the massive amounts of blood that they collect. It ain't that many people getting transfusions on the planet. So they taking plasma, separating cells. They running the red blood cells through hemoglobin testing to determine the processing ratio of iron to oxygen in the blood that's causing the rust factor. Because eventually the iron is going to be replaced back with the magnesium, and it's going to switch the blood ratio in the hemoglobin. It's going to look more like chlorophyll. And it's going to change and alter the color of the skin. That's all part of the ancient record. That's why they paint all those deities as green, right? Because when the solar flare go, it changes the chemistry of the genome. This is why we're not 12 strand no more. It's been upgraded to now the same amount of information that required 12 strands only require 2. But you don't have to be 150 feet tall no more either. When you had 12.
Let's go back to that for a minute. Just let's park there just for a minute about. So when they start to speculate who built what and whether or not there was ET help assistance, or whether or not there were giants that actually facilitated a lot was done. When you say that, are you talking about our people? And we've come down, just like computers have come down from room size to, you can hold it in your hand.
Right. That's called upgrades. That's called upgrades. Now, what in the Darwinian evolutionary theory, they got what's called missing links. Okay. This is because of laboratory intervention in the genome. When you realize that we've been doing genetic engineering since the beginning of humanity, and we was creating avatars to operate in this system of 3D operational matrix. Somebody got smart and figured out that if they gave us amnesia in the matrix, that they can recycle the matrix over and over and nobody will ever jump through the infinity loop.
Do you feel that when people have these so-called near-death experiences and they come back and they say, I saw this, I saw that, it was beautiful, I made a decision that I need to come back, because I wanted to see my child grow up without whatever reason. Is that just an illusionary process, step in between leaving out of the body and making a decision to, like you said, when you said they don't go through the infinity loop, but they loop back into the third dimensional reality? Or is that what's happening? Or are they really in a place of decision where they could go through, come back as someone else, or make a decision to go on to a higher
Okay,
dimension? Is there no choice at that point?
look, it's like this. They got a book of life. If they start falling off the path in a book of life, they have what's called a emotionally catalyzing event of massive proportions that's written in a book of life in order to snap them out of the 3D slumber and reconnect their spiritual self to their higher consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at their life that was in shambles most of the time before the catalyzing event, and then you look at the gratitude and the revelation and the different way they live their life after the catalyzing event. So in everybody's life, whether it's when your parents got to go, when you lose a child, those are called emotionally catalyzing events. There's nothing in this reality that you didn't know you was going to experience before you came. That's the beauty of the trick of the amnesia, to see if you can be pure enough in heart to see your way through the darkness of illusion.
And it's funny that they call it amnesia, because I've surmised that the time between the assignment of what one is going to do, the in life, and the birth, the child generally at average spends 9 months in the womb in a liquid fluid called amniotic fluid. Amniotic fluid, I said, lulls the being of the soul into a forgetfulness state of amnesia, and the journey begins when the lights or whatever, when the child comes through the waters and is here to remember the assignment that they forgot in the amniotic fluid, but I'm not saying it right.
Amniotic fluid.
Whatever it is, it's amniotic. It's amnia because it's amniocentesis. So it's amniotic fluid. But I kind of surmise that time is the wash the memory sort of away, in the sense that it becomes a quest. The life becomes a quest.
So they discovered something in psychology that causes people to forget former lives, and it's called light shock therapy. It's where a bright light is shined in your face and it give you the effect of Men in Black with the flasher.
Mm-hmm.
If they do it to a newborn, that's why all of the hospital delivery room got the baby under them bright ass lights.
Mm-hmm.
It's to shock the optic nerve, which causes a amnesia in the brain for a period of time. They never let the mother and the child properly pair bond, because her colostrum will begin to repair the amnesia. If she run the cycle through before the placenta is released, the chemicals from her colostrum going through the umbilical cord reactivates the baby's entire psyche. And then it's discovered that, oh, he's been flashed. Let me fix his optic nerve. And the mother's colostrum that's his immune system. And they replaced it with vaccines and replaced the mother's milk with Similac and Enfamil. It's all part of keeping us in a stupor.
I know that there are a lot more push towards, babies being breastfed, but, and that's not necessarily coming from the hospital side, but they actually do have people who teach them how to, how to nurse their babies and so forth. So I guess they figure a small amount. They can't do it to everybody, because we don't know what's in that stuff, the Similac and the Enfamil and all of that, whatever else is out there these days. We don't know what, it's designed to do, what chemicals are in it, and what it does to the newborn or the child in its developmental stages. And that's why I'm grateful for all of the doulas out there, and the ones that not only follow the mother, through the birth process, but even help them with the beginning months and stages of
Yeah,
the child.
that's where the whole concept of a nanny came from. Because the doula was the caretaker of all of the children. She overseen their birth. They would come visit and stay with her as the nanny, as the secondary mother for a mama can go do other stuff like work the fields.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you had the big mamas, you had the nanas, which was the aunties that was the big mama to her clan. They all helping the young mothers with the children while they helping with the general labor of maintaining of the family. We lost track of who we was, but some of us back to reinform everybody of where we came from so that we can remember who we are.
Right.
Once we remember who we are, they can't run that BS on us no more. And now the youngsters got a hold of the reality of it and the receipts, and they coming up with more receipts showing, proving the point.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So somehow they're overcoming or have overcome the effects of the bright light, because I'm sure many of them, were born in those regular those settings that we now know are not that are detrimental to the
Well,
child.
a lot of the young mothers now was getting advice from midwives and from doulas that they wasn't get 25 years ago.
Mhm.
And then a lot of them want to do water births and home births now. So the children is reflecting that because they are, when they go to the playground together, they exchanging information. We don't pay attention to the children on the playground playing because they establishing hierarchy in they age bracket, in they size groups, right? They are problem solving that their minds can comprehend, and this is where they come with all of the questions all the time. They come back from the playground with all of the questions. Daddy, why is this like this? Who is God? Where is he at? Right? They was talking about that on the playground with the other children. The conversation is different now.
Yeah, you see the pictures, the little clips, the little shorts, and they're showing the babies, the infants, the newborns, and the looks on like they're not even coming back looking like babies. They're coming back looking like old men and old women. I mean, when I say old, grown men and grown women in baby form, and they have these expressions that
Like,
like
oh, I came back to this BS.
I saw one where they had like a something on it said, "This is the 13th time I've been here, and I'm here. I'm with another poor family." Something. That, so, but what you're seeing in the babies is, I mean, I know of some children who both of the I don't know if they got more than two now, but the first two children, I think, were talking before when it was like 3 to 4 months old. They were talking. You know what I mean? And they were in the same bloodline, same siblings, but they were talking, and not just goo goo gaga, but able to to have a little conversation with the parents, and of course is developed since then. And so you know that, like, when you talked about the upgrade, changes are taking place, evolutionary changes are taking place, and like you said, at the what's been going on forever is the fact that if we go all the way back, and it goes further than this, but if we just go back to the book of Genesis, which is Genesis, you got the first time we generally saw that there was some genetic work going on, because they were saying, well, let us make man in our image and in our likeness and our image, whatever it is. And so we read that, but then we were taught that it was one God that did that. But you can't be a us and be one. Us got to be at least two.
And they tell you that it's only one God in the Bible, but they tell you in the same Bible that the God of Moab, his name is Chemosh.
See, I never even seen that in all the study I've done, and that's actually in the Bible.
It's actually in the Bible.
So it seemed like that if that was the case, it would have been a case of you got the God of
He's not the only one mentioned in there either.
The God of that gods were not. It was not the creator God. but it was like an Elohim, one of the Elohim,
Mhm.
as opposed to a creator God. And then you have the schizophrenic appearing God who creates, loves, and then says kill everything, and the women and children, rape the women, take the women, kill the men, do. And then you think, is God crazy? And then when you read the other books that the Bible we know now has come from, you get to you're getting a Yahweh versus a Jehovah, or an Inky versus an Enlil. If you get deep in it, so you got one God saying, you and that woman, we put you together, you on a timetable, you get together, every so many weeks, and you can get it on, and whatever you can do, because we need to create more of you. Then you got the other gods stepping in, saying, who they call a snake or a serpent, saying, listen, you can do what you want to do with who you want to do it with. You're not bound to this. And matter of fact, you can put some clothes on. And then when this other God shows back, who told you were naked? So you see, it looks like confusion. And then you have the same one God saying, I'm jealous, and you should have no other God before me. So if there's no other God to be before him, that makes no sense right there. But people gloss right over it.
So the god Kimash is mentioned several times. Judges 11:24.
Mm-hmm.
1 Kings 11:7 say King Solomon built a temple to Kimash on the Mount of Olives.
You see that?
2 Kings 23:13, King Josiah destroyed the temple to Kimash as part of a purge of 9 Yahwistic religions.
Right. So
2
Yahweh,
Kings,
was that would that be
Yahweh.
Yahweh? Yeah,
Anything. Right. So Yahweh, as he come out of the Sumerian pantheon.
right.
Right. Now, a lot of the other deities is in there too. I'm gonna go over some of them with you, but the last one is Jeremiah. Wait a minute, no, it ain't. 2 Kings 3:26-27 say a Moabite king offered his son as a sacrifice to Chemosh in the hopes of winning a military victory.
And how do you spell Chemosh? If anybody wants to look it up.
Chemosh.
C-H-M-O-S-H.
Jeremiah E. Yeah. Okay, and the last one is Jeremiah 48:7. It says Jeremiah prophesied that Chemosh and his followers would be carried into captivity and brought shame to his worshipers. Right. And then it says Chemosh was the God protector of the Moabites, while Yahweh was the national God of the Israelites. The Bible portrays Chemosh as a false God and Yahweh as the only true God. So you got another God called Adad in the Bible. He's commonly referred to as Baal Hadad. That's one of the sons of Enlil.
Okay.
Right. Now in the Bible, they translate his name to mean the Lord thy God.
Okay.
So it's telling you, they got you thinking they still talking about Yahweh, and they talking about Baal Hadad. They translate Baal as Lord. Baal is the Canaanite god. Right? So all of these different Adonai is another name for Enki. Right? So now you got another different Anunnaki god.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? Then when they talk about I was thought my stars be above the kingdom of God or something like that about in Isaiah. That's a woman talking about her son. And they telling her that her son ain't the righteous one, and she letting them know he the righteous one and the rightful one. And they telling us that this is a story about some devil named Lucifer. But Lucifer mean light bringer, the one that bring right. So in Greek culture, he's called Prometheus. Right? He stole the form of the gods and gave it to the mortals.
Yeah.
But what is the flame of the gods? Knowledge. And this is why the Baphomet got a torch on top of his head. It's the torch of knowledge, reaching to what's called Ein Sof. Ein Sof means vibration of Sophia, or vibration of wisdom. So now you're talking about a frequency and the vibration. And that's the Holy Sephira. Right? So now we're talking about an arc degree at the top. All this stuff is tied back in through these biblical narratives that they gave us as metabytes of information to be operated upon at a later date. Because the people who's telling the story obviously don't know the story they telling and where it came from. So it took years of different people researching the history in order to put it all together. True. But then you had people came in with what's called Victor's history. Victor's history is military operational historical narrative in order to control the people you conquer with the least amount of resistance from the conquered people.
And so they say, yeah, that whoever is victorious gets to write the story.
Yeah, the victors write the history.
Write the history, yeah.
So, right. So now the way that they keep us from rebelling about their presence on the land is to disassociate us from the land. So the Notre Dame, where the academic slave narrative was hatched at, gave them a operational manual for disassociating a group of people from the land by telling them they came from somewhere else that has nothing to do with them, and you find a similarity between the two people to convince them otherwise. So they use skin color and hair texture.
Right. So yeah. And again, they also put everything in an Eastern context, when I've always had this burning, question about, where do I fit into this? Where do we, or not just me, but where do the people in America, at America, where do we fit into the narrative? So everything, the way they rewrote their revisionist, theory, the way they do things, they put everything in an Eastern context. It happened over there. And there's no real, as they try to figure out how they was going to connect us to how we got over here. But the one thing I was telling somebody the other day in terms of where we come from, I said, anybody else who supposedly commits a crime, if you will, punishable by deportation in America, gets shipped back to the country of origin, except for us, unless you came in here, from Africa in the recent times with a visa or something. I'm talking about the majority of people who look like us we get sent right straight to jail, which is part of the prison industrial complex. And nobody, if that's the case, we should be deported. But you can't deport us because we're already on our homeland. That's what that in and of itself needs to be brought up as, why is that to them? We know why, but we need to let them know that we know why.
Mm-hmm. That's part of our war, domestic warfare, that 99% of the general population was totally unoblivious, been fighting their whole life right in front of them without their knowledge. Right. The government already declared that we was the enemy, the people of the land. They had bounties on us for our scalps. And how do you know it's them? Because of the woolly hair. But then they turned around and tell us that the people they brought over here, Mongolians they brought over here and sicked on us, right? They telling us they was the Indians doing the scalping, right? But it was really the settlers brought them people with them as servants. Mm-hmm. And this is why they have been privy to a lot of our cultural norms, because somebody had to maintain the culture when they ostracized us on our own land. Right. So they discover during the wars the character of us as the people of the land. And many of the ones that they brought over here from Mongolian wars with the Huns, the Vedics, and the Khans. That's who all of those, the Ottoman Empire, the early Roman Empire, this is who they was fighting, and this is who they made slave villages out of. And this is where they would go and take their children and do whatever they wanted to do with them. Because they was not looked at as human, they was called goyim, meaning chattel, as in the herds of the human animals, right? So they didn't have any regard for anybody that was not from their bloodline stock of Intlites, right? Then they eat us, literally. Going back to the blood banks and the vampires sucking the blood. We wore wolf pelts in war as a camouflage that we used to use to hunt. You had people from the old Mississippians that roamed the plains. They wore bison pelts, and this is why the American government said for every time they kill a bison, they kill one of us, because they thought that the bison turned into us at night and attacked them. But we was walking.
Skinwalker thing comes from Skinwalker.
That's where it's come from.
Okay.
So they telling them that when they take the pelts off, we look like kinfolk. This is where the werewolf term lichen come from. They look like kin, but they not. They wear wolves. The whole vampire wars with the werewolves, as they told you in that movie Twilight, was against the natives of the land and the colonizers that looked the same, which showed itself as the George Washington Challenge. And everybody else was supposed to ostracize both sides so that they could stay out of it. So this is where you use your doctrine of racism that's called Protocols of Zion. You apply that method along with torture tactics and false history. And now the people don't know who to trust.
That's true.
Because they don't know how to recognize the sardines in the can as different fish. They think we are the same fish.
Absolutely. And that is interesting, though. When, people think that one kind of fish is just a whole bunch of little fish crammed together and, pickled up and whatever, mustarded up or whatever you do to them. But they're not all of the same. And
there's no real small tiny. Yeah.
It's not a fish.
It's named after a place over in Sardinia, is what it's named after. And that's where they practice taking the little fish and pickling them and making them into, stored stock.
Right.
Right. This is same thing with anchovies. It all come from over there. That's Italian.
But isn't it true that the sardines, though they call them sardines, there's a whole bunch of different fish, and they're not like us. They call us black, Negro colored, lump us all together, but that's not the truth. That's not factual. But that's the label that's been put on them. The label that's been put on our people.
Yeah, so they put us all in prison together and just say prisoner.
Prisoners, right? Inmates.
Yeah. But everybody in there, some people
I done been
in. Look, a whole lot of people innocent. Some people got overkill on the sentencing, and some people deserve to be there. They should not be in the roaming around free in the world. I've been in there with them. I done looked in the eyes of some very, very, very terrifying individuals. No soul whatsoever. Mm. They have no remorse or no misgivings. They just as much give you a hug as cut your throat. But you just can't keep people trapped in a cage. That's not normal human behavior. It's just they start ruining them as children on purpose so that when they become adults, they can't function in the society. Most of them come from horrible backgrounds. And a lot of them told me, and I can't unhear that stuff. I was like, man, why you have to tell me that? Now I got to be haunted by the same thing that haunts you. To think that the one human would do that to a child. Now I got to live with it just like you do. I didn't want to hear that. Now I can't unhear it. I can't unknow what you told me. I done had cellmates that can't sleep at night because they get tormented in their dreams.
Mm.
Tormented from the dirt they did.
From what they did, yeah. Yeah, I can
Yeah, we did so much dirt. I had one bunkie, he was in there for attempted murder, but he had beat all of the murder cases that they had arrested him for. He had like 17 murders.
Wow.
And he had an out date.
Does that mean he had time when he was going to get released?
Yeah. I had more time than him. He had something like 8 years. I had 18. But when after he was in the room with me for about a week, I said, man, they don't need to let you back out on the street. You horrible. There's a whole lot of them in there worse than him. You know, the people that care about their loved ones in there, you should see about them. Because the ones that don't get seen about, the staff doing bad, worse than the inmates. Yeah. If you know how to take care of yourself, you make alliances and you protect it among the peer group, the inmates. But if you don't have people checking on you, you fool for the officer because you have nobody to tell outside that care about you.
So you have these vicious men and women who are supposed to be peacekeepers who actually have their play out their darkness on the inmates in there because they can, because they have a position of authority.
The slogan is power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And them guards, the guards is like gangbangers. And in most of the places, they got special forces in there. We don't know this. The people out here don't know this. Some of them, they call them the goon squad, the head busters, the 6'1s, right? Because everybody got to be over 6'1s. They call them cap splitters, the wrecking crew. Depending on where you at, they got a different name from them all over the country, but it's the same thing. Their only mission is to come in and wreak pain on the inmates by slapping them upside the head with axe handles and billy clubs, spraying them with gas. We don't know that stuff. Regular people don't know the stuff that go on to the inmates in there, as they are prisoners of war in the first place because all of the judges is here illegally. The police is a foreign occupying military force. The sheriff is supposed to be arresting their ass. But the last time the sheriffs tried to arrest the police department, it was such a public disaster that they had to stop the practice because the police is a slave catching force dispatched out of London, England. This is why the police that's discovering this now is given the opportunity to resign before they declare martial law and clamp down on when they told you that the military was given permission to use deadly force in support of the local law enforcement, that's because the National Guard has been sheep dipping special forces agents out of different branches of the military to support them, because some of these billionaires and millionaires have private armies, and when you go get them, you need an army. You need a Navy SEAL team. You need an Army Ranger force. The National Guard, from their standard operating procedures, is not prepared for special forces combat. So they had to put the bill in front of them in order to make it a law, in order for the other branches of the military that's been sheep dipped by the National Guard to be an operational force in backing up the National Guard and rounding up all of the dirty players.
Dirty players. Let's go back to like, well, 2020 or in that period of time when they were talking, things used to drop all the time with letters, the 17th letter of the alphabet used to always, remember, that was coming out, and they were giving all of this info out, and intel, I guess they were calling it, with regards to who was getting exposed and who was getting processed and who was getting sent to, places, that were designed to house criminals of their type. Was that just mere propaganda? Or
Okay, they just put a bill before Congress. It's a continuity in the absence of 100 and more senators and congressmen. They obviously know that it's going to be at least short 100 senators and congressmen when the revelation comes out about the tribunal. So they have to cover the process of government ahead of the disclosure to the people.
So,
right.
So the government, but the current administration, or the current Congress, did this because they know amongst their own selves that some of them are going down, is what you're saying, and so they felt like a duty.
No.
Okay.
So let me tell you, they was running a psychological operations through the political arena using the presidential office as the focal point of a psychological operation, so that most of the people will never figure out that there's an active hot war taking place underground all over the earth. So
about the and stuff.
Right. So they've been special forces teams in an alliance around the world to go into underground tunnels and get the people that's been stealing children.
Okay.
They've been feeding them to what's called archons. Archons are reptilian humanoid creatures that live underground. They do not come above ground because they were seen too much in what they call the Dark Ages. They had tunnels that took them from Buckingham Palace in London, took them to the Vatican in Italy, that took them to the Swiss Alps. And Switzerland was the largest underground community of those beings. They've been since cleared out because now they're doing tours of the underground tunnels in Switzerland as the most expansive underground tunnel network of any country. It's the description that they're using to get people to come and look. But it was people living there for hundreds of years before they cleared them out. What they did with them, I don't know.
Now, isn't Switzerland where the folks that look like us but are not like us that have been in charge for many years were held up or operating from?
Switzerland, yes. That was the Hive Headquarters of those beings. That's their Hive Headquarters. They have sub hives around the world. Normally they live in gated communities, but they're able to walk among us because they look like us. And then they be telling us kill Whitey, and all the time he Whitey. That's to keep us always fighting with each other, so we can't never overthrow the real enemy.
Well, I heard that a few years ago when they had the fires in California, I think the place was called Paradise Valley, Paradise something. They were saying that when you talk about the reptilians that don't, that stay underground, that these there was a community in Paradise, Paradise, California. Remember the things were burning.
I know what you're talking about.
They said that they were have a sort of they looked human, but they had teeth. They had teeth that they had to wear crowns and things over. They had a special dentist that was there for them. They had special times for these people to go to the market and so forth. They had houses above ground, but when they would go into the house, they would go underground from these houses, and that the targets, that they were the targets, if you will, of the what do you call it, the dues. Yeah, they call them the dues, right? Direct DEWs. The dues were directed at them to get rid of them who lived underground, went in like they were going into a regular house. They would take their, their
Dentures
whatever,
out.
yeah, dentures out and so forth, and be themselves, but they would go underground from what was looked like an above ground house they didn't
So
really live in.
anybody can look this up. They told us the cover story was that they was doing war games in California. And that was the reason why there was all of that bombs and shooting going on. That's not the truth of what was going on. That's the story they told us because too many people heard it.
Okay.
So I think that was in 2020.
Somewhere back around there. But but I was told there was this reptilian community that they had special privileges, but they they were in the community for a long time, but they were the targets of this. And I see it here. Somebody said, yes, Paradise said, I lived that event, Dr. G. It was horrific. Here's somebody's, so it was really, here's another one. Oh no, not that one. That's crazy. I live in California, wasn't in Paradise for a couple of weeks. Yeah, so it was things going on. I don't know whether they were an experiment of living, in with that they decided they didn't want any more of. You know what I mean? And the government or whoever the so-called powers that be were decided, like we'll get rid of them.
Yeah.
But on the subject of reptilians, before you go anywhere else, what do you think about that so-called costume that Kim K had on that looks so realistic? Because a lot of folks talked about that. It was just too over the top, real, like is a costume what she's wearing most of the time, and she showed her real self. What do you say to that? I mean, maybe you don't.
You remember when Aaliyah played in a movie called The Queen of the Damned?
Yes, I remember that movie. I don't remember the movie seeing it, but I remember the movie.
The character she was playing was Kim Kardashian.
Oh, really?
Kim Kardashian ain't regular.
Okay.
And this made Aaliyah hot in the Hollywood circles because they didn't ever want that role to be taken by somebody that would know how to imitate her. What they call it her true form.
Okay.
Right. And they say Aaliyah did the job too well. So Kim Kardashian came out on the at one of them award shows dressed like the Queen of the Damned because she now have to identify who Aaliyah was talking about in the public face to see who's gonna catch it. So if you look up Queen of the Damned / Kim Kardashian, it'll come up side by side comparison.
Okay.
She's just showing you her true colors. She ain't no good. Salute to Kanye for diving on the bear. Somebody had to hold the bear till we could figure out how to kill that son bitch.
Well, he seems to be a very erratic. Who knows?
That's character role called Hayoka Chief War Dancing. The goal is to make regular people think that you totally erratic and insane. But in the course of that, you have to reveal great truths. And he did it.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of revealing truths, I mean, Kat said that this was going to be 2024, which is almost over. It's going to be the year of disclosure. I was clipping through something the other day and saw I want to say it may have been a TikTok or Instagram with Nicki Minaj, Mrs. Petty, as she must be called, and Ray J, for instance. And she like totally, decimated him in the sense that he was kowtowing to her, and she told him not to call her Nicki. She told him she was Mrs. Petty, and then she started asking him or saying to him, asking him certain things to pull out whether or not he was double dipping, back and who he was and why was he trying to. He said he wanted to be a part of her. I guess does she have a label or something? He wanted to go, and she totally in public made him look like. And I'm thinking, why is he sniveling like that? Because what's happening, with this system? I mean, like I said, there's so many things, like I said, that came out to distract us. He was one of them. Diddy's been a big part of it. All the people that are coming out to distract us. But I think the main question is, what are we being distracted from?
Some of that is not distraction.
Okay.
Some of it is not distraction. But because we love gossip so much, all that stuff is coded still to get the gossipers to spread the rumor.
Mm-hmm.
And they still telling the code, but they don't know it. Puffy ain't the target.
Who is the target?
All of them pedophile executives, Clive Davis, Larry Cohen, there's a whole bunch of them. They all, Clive financed Diddy parties, and ain't nobody talking about that. Everybody know that Clive used to give him the money for the parties.
Right.
Because he was the director. He was telling Diddy everything that needed to be done. He ain't getting away.
Mm-hmm.
What he did to Phyllis Hyman, for what he did to Whitney Houston, Angela Bofield. And I could keep going. But he ain't getting away. He think because he old and shriveled up, they ain't going to figure out a way to give his ass the guillotine. He got another thing coming. Same with Larry Cohen, Ted Fields, Tommy Mottola.
Mm-hmm.
They ain't getting away. But somebody had to be as depraved as them in order to get them to let their guard down enough to drag them out.
But like trying to say that, and I'm gonna get off the Diddy thing, but they were saying, Clive Davis, and they then even said Andre Harrell, I guess his name, were responsible for grooming Diddy. But when you look back at his history and see that he went to a Catholic, all boys Catholic school where the priests were known pedophiles and was exposed, the likelihood is that I called him, he was an altar boy, and I said what he was actually an altered boy, and it happened at that level, and so he was just right for whatever was there in the entertainment field, because he had already had his grooming done through his formative years of going to the school.
In the Matrix, I think it's Matrix Revolution, they had these people called the Mandalorians. And they was taking this cat to put on the guillotine, right? And Neo grabbed the cat before they can pull the lever on the guillotine. And he was telling them there got to be a point that you're not willing to go, right? Otherwise, you sell your soul at that point, right? It's got to be a line that you're not willing to cross. When you get a person that's willing to cross all of the lines, that's your crash dummy. You let him go crash out, because he's going to crash out anyway. But let him crash out with a purpose, right? They use every piece on the board for what it's useful for. And we all pieces on the board that's being played in real time. And so we don't see what they doing. So you needed a buck dancing cracker like Trump. Because now we can get the opportunity to serve up the political distraction while we doing everything we supposed to do to reclaim the land. They worrying about who gonna win the presidency. I'm trying to kill the office.
You don't know. Well, they say he's the last the last trumpet, the last president, all that stuff. So perhaps, and a couple people are saying something, and I agree with this. How let me see. Yeah, it said that Quincy died unscathed. Darn shame, but it's starting to come out now, because they're starting to bring up stuff about well, Tevin Campbell's probably the biggest one that hits for as far as
That's the
being
main
blatantly
one I was mad at Quincy about what he did to Tevin.
Tevin. Yeah. But you know, you got to think in terms, did he do anything to Mike? Did he do anything to Will? You know, because they're all tied to him, and who else,
Yeah.
who knows that?
Well, Mike is a unique situation. He always had people around him. So if somebody did something, it was a whole clique of people in on it. Wasn't no one person. Quincy wasn't just going to slide up on Mike and start molesting him. That wasn't going to happen. But if he had a team of molesters around him that worked together, now that's possible. Because there was always been a team around Mike since he was little.
Mm-hmm.
So if he got molested, the whole team was in on it. Now
in the book, Thanks for the Memories, which is a PDF out there. I can't think of that wave's name, but Thanks for the Memories book. I distinctly remember when I read that book, the woman who was part of it, was a victim of MK. She said that she remembered being taken to the opening of when they first appeared, I think on the Ed Sullivan show. I think it was the Ed Sullivan show. That those she said they were all I think she says molesters. She might say sodomized backstage. That she says it in the book because she lists some other folks that she says were MK Ultra, but she called the book Thanks for the Memories because one of the people she was handed off to, and according to her account, and I'm just saying this is for educational purpose only, but she says was Bob Hope, and that's how she ended up at the at the Ed Sullivan show when they were there. She was backstage, and she said they were all sodomized before they went out on the stage, and she lists some other things that happened with other people. But this stuff that we're hearing about is so old. And when I say old, it's been going on ever since they created their Hollywood and their industries. That seems like that was part of the base plan of those industries was to incorporate, that kind of abuse, in order to get control. Because once you do that, I heard it said, you get to the root chakra. That's where she was saying that Diddy was drawing his power from this backdoor situation she would do with these, fear, pain, and whatever, and the root chakra. That's why they were doing those.
Yeah, that's Babylonian sex magic.
Okay, I don't know what it's called, but that's
it's Babylonian sex magic, and it's straight out of the Mishnah and the Talmud.
It's in there.
Yeah,
Lord,
it's even concealed in the Old Testament. Right, but it's Babylonian sex magic, and the goal is, if you have an heir to the throne as the prince, you're supposed to sodomize him to make him unfit to rule. That's in the Sumerian tablets. Once you sodomize, you unfit to rule. Right, and they not only do that, they also do it to control the victim. Right, they creating some kind of artificial link with the victim where they can't break out of that psychological trauma. It's the worst trauma bind you can possibly do to a person.
Wow. Yeah, that's yeah, that's what they've been doing. Yeah.
Yeah, well, their time is up. The gig is up. Because they wasn't gonna keep doing this stuff in secret, and ain't nobody gonna figure it out. Because you got energy signatures that saying, wait a minute, if what I'm seeing is right, that would mean this is taking place in the dark. Right? So when you're looking at the decay of society, that's entropy. That means it's coming to its close. So as the society starts to break down, it breaks down in a predictable pattern based on historical records. And these is all designed to function within a cycle called an age or an eon. Right? And people be talking about the end of the world ain't going nowhere. Your ass might, but the world ain't going nowhere.
That's right.
Right? So it's not the end of the world, it's the end of a type of civilization that's no longer functional for the greater benefit of the people. So now you have a lot of teachers emerging from silence that wouldn't have never been speaking before, using alternative outlets to deliver information, right? And these alternative outlets serve for also public notice according to the court standard. Timestamped, dated in an archivable format. Notice to agent is notice to principal. Once it's on the record, they can't delete it. They can try everything they can to cover it up, but once the people know, the gig is up, right? But now we at the part where something got to trigger the great disclosure.
And is that on Trump's agenda? I mean, I don't know where he is with that, but talk was that his first go round, he had done some things. He did do some things that a lot of people seemingly were unaware of, that were more beneficial to us than a lot of folks knew. It seemed like he had done some things, but it was swept under the rug as far as public knowledge.
Yeah, well, it don't matter what he did last time or didn't do, because this time it's all coming down. It's all coming out. What was done in the dark has to come to the light. Just the age of Aquarius.
Yeah, doesn't matter how far back it was done, right? So
if the truth need to be known for the people to recover and move forward in a better social standard, then they need to know.
Right.
So if they don't understand at the beginning, you have to put it in terms that they understand. And the sad part about it is we only understand high gossip and extreme trauma. The traumatic event could be the catalytic event. And it don't look good for people that ain't got the school message yet.
Can you expound on that?
They doing everything they can to force parents to stop participating in the educational system, but the parents is determined to keep it there, which puts the children at risk to Manchurian candidates. Right. What's commonly known in MK Ultra as a hypno assassin. If you look back over the school shootings, there is almost all of them, the majority of them, was under the care of a psychiatrist or a psychologist. Many of them was on Prozac and Ritalin, one or the other or both. All of those are written about in the MK Ultra files, but most people have never read it. So they don't know that these people are being hypnotically programmed to do these nefarious things. And it leaves the parent at risk because the parent thinking they're getting their child help. And what they doing is listening to these doctors that's ruining their child in the name of healthcare, mental health. Programming them to use to do dastardly deeds in order to further the agenda of the corporation, to the detriment of the tribes. As long as we keep thinking that this is just accidentally happening and we not looking at the patterns, we won't never see the consistency in the philosophy that they using as a conquering philosophy to subjugate us. So they use the false flag event when the people don't pay attention. Then they use what they call a emotionally significant false flag event. Don't mean the event don't happen. It just means that the government had more control over the event than you could possibly imagine. Right. And they will let people die. Your life don't mean nothing to these people.
Collateral damage.
Collateral damage. It's war. And they trying to fight the war using psychological methods. And that's to keep the people from realizing that they in a war and that the war is being fought against them. Therefore, they have no defense.
So are you saying that because when we talk about the weapon is still loaded, so are we in the crosshairs of something else that we need to be more aware of, that we need to get ourselves geared up to fight this war, instead of being just a lame
It's
duck
not
out
going.
there
It's not
sitting
going to
duck?
play out where all of us have to participate in the fight. It's going to be so precise when they go. But the part that's to get the people to wake up is the part I'm more worried about than the aftermath fallout of the war. Because if they don't get your attention one way, they got a real evil and vile way to get your attention.
Mm-hmm.
And it normally involves mass casualties like 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if once you become aware, you can do something to protect yourself. But as long as you walking around in la la land thinking everything is milk and honey, then you're gonna walk right into their traps. The reason they call them a trap because you ain't supposed to see them.
Right.
Till it's too late. If a bear knew what a bear trap would, he wouldn't put his foot in there.
Well, here's something. Question. Rod, it's been rumored that 350 FEMA trucks were spotted the day before yesterday in Upper Michigan. Could you talk about why that could be?
Well, it depends on which side of FEMA. FEMA right now is in the middle of a civil or internal conflict between the tribes taking over FEMA and the deep state operatives that still have access to FEMA equipment and resources, trying to use it to muscle their way back in. It ain't gonna work. They ain't gonna win. But that's what's going on with FEMA. FEMA trucks normally is transporting goods or supplies of a medical nature, something like that, for emergency purposes. But what they are moving for in Michigan, I don't know.
Right. So there was some question that came up that I looked at one program where the lady was saying that she is a government contractor, and as such gets a chance to read, when they put out for the various things that the government's contracting for, and that the government was doing, trying to get those that could build these what will seem like FEMA camps. But what I've been questioning lately in the East Coast, in this area, and I don't know whether it's happening where any of you all are out there, let me know. They're building around here in the Delaware, in New Jersey area in particular, because that's the place I've been traveling. These massive, what looks like storage facilities or places where warehouses that look like they're like half a football field length, and they're taking all the land that was farmland, and they're putting up these. I'm thinking, what do they have to store that they would build these huge, they have the big bays, but that's the bays could be where they back a truck up that has, or one of those things they call it containers and whatever. What in the heck? I don't know if they do it, if anybody where you are, they're building all of these warehouses. And I just feel like somehow there's a nefarious reason behind these massive warehouses. I mean, coming up like
Okay, one thing that you got to take into account, Dr. G, is when they do martial law and they shut everything down, ain't no grocery stores gonna be open.
Mm-hmm.
And the National Guard is gonna be responsible to feed people, and they have the food resource, the same resources they had when they started Focus Hope. You remember how they had all of that food stockpile? Well, they've been preparing through this is one of the FEMA initiatives for the continuity of government process. They've been preparing to shut the old government down. And when that shut down, the bank shut down, it's going to be a period of time before the new system becomes active.
So you
During that,
saying this gonna be food storage or supply storage places or?
it's possible. It could be both food and supplies because the National Guard is going to be going door to door delivering rations to people who don't. You know, you have the people that was preppers, but most people wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
So the one of the FEMA resources that was used was to be able to create a resource network to feed people for the martial law period.
When do you think feel that the martial law will actually go into effect?
Whenever
Where do you
this
see it?
false flag event take place, I don't know what it is or when it's going to happen. But if you look at the stars, you can get a good clue.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't looked recently to see when a significant catalyzing event should be taking place according to the alignment. But I know right now we going through a whole lot of energy transfer and convergence. So we're seeing a lot of things come back full circle, but they don't look the same when they come back. They look the same but different,
Okay.
right? So, but once it comes through, it's through. But the people don't want to become aware enough where the significant catalyzing event, the shock and awe, is not required. They still walk around in la la land. They still thinking that presidential elections is real. And they still thinking that celebrity is important people when all they is for entertainment.
That's right.
They just as effed up as most of us, if not worse. Most of them worse. The average person don't want to be involved in those shenanigans. Not on their own accord. You need to be coaxed into some of that stuff, right? You need to be put in the middle of a peer group of a whole bunch of depraved individuals to compel you to participate in the depravity. That's why they isolate who they bring around. They know what they doing. We just don't know what they doing enough to protect ourselves from them doing it to us, or we wouldn't keep sending our children talking about we gonna make them a celebrity with no parental supervision. I'm just gonna give my kid to this person. I ain't know him from Iraq and Iraq because he a producer. What is he producing? No, I'm not doing it. You want my son to sing? I'm gonna be sitting right there in the studio with him, especially when he an underage singer.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a grown man, he already know how to protect himself because I'm a teacher. But if you're a child, I'm not Bieber age, Usher age, no, Lil Wayne age. No, nigga, you not taking my child. I don't know you like that. Them kids was too young to be put in that
Situation, yeah.
piranha tank.
Yeah, I saw
Oh,
another thing. I didn't know what going on, but there was I forgot what's called the rap game. Looking at some old things, and it actually was what is that guy's name? Oh my God, he's a producer. He went with Janet Jackson for a little while. Oh my
talking about
gosh,
Jermaine Dupri.
Jermaine Dupri, and I was like, oh my goodness, he had children, but lots of their parents seemed to have been there. But when I was telling an individual about his history with I believe it was Crisscross. The group was called Crisscross, and the one young man ended up, deleting himself. They didn't believe me. Oh, that's just a bunch of. I said, okay, whatever. You think these people are, that they're so morally right in a corrupt system. It's almost impossible to be not to be corrupt because of the system was designed for that. It was designed from corruption. So, we, like you said, I don't think too many people are maybe looking to get their children into entertainment now with all of the publicity. Maybe now that it's out.
You still got people look at their child as a cash cow and don't see him as their child.
Well, they something that in sports. I mean, because I got a grandson that my son's, but he's good, but really good. But I don't, maybe he wants to be something else. you know, not because those things, it's a whole bunch of good players out there. You know what I mean? So what, you know, stimulating the brain, the mind, create something and all that. Everybody aspiring to be, you know, a hooper, or, you know, to be a quarterback, to get, you know, $200 million contract. I mean, those things aren't even gonna matter soon. Anyway.
Sure ain't. Everybody in power or in pseudo power has to come out of their positions of pseudo power. In order for the old system to be overthrown, everybody that looked like they was on top, they got to be at the bottom. They got to all come down from high and mighty to be lowly and regular like us. Because we all have the same portion of divine spark that got us breathing on earth. And anybody that don't got it, when that solar flare and that Schumann resonance decide to purge, they won't be here.
Mm-hmm. Well, somebody's asked, a couple of people are asking you to talk about the scandal in the Vatican. I think this, and then somebody also said, can you talk about Archbishop of Canterbury resigns over scandal, abuse, Rome is falling. And then somebody else said, what's going on in the Vatican? I don't know if those are the same. Do you have any?
The Archbishop of Canterbury is over the Church of Canterbury. That's not the Catholic Church. They was created under King, I think his name was King George. No, that wasn't his name. King Henry, I think it was. He was a notorious eater. But he wanted to get a divorce. The Pope wouldn't let him. So he created the Church of Canterbury and installed his own Pope as the Archbishop of Canterbury.
Oh, okay.
But that's also a bunch of historical codes for the modern narrative in order to see something that's different. Like Chief Pontiac Castle on Joslin in Lake Orion is called Canterbury Castle.
Oh, there's a castle with Chief Pontiac. Okay.
Right. So there was several of them. One in Rochester, but this one in Lake Orion. And it's called Canterbury Castle. They say we wasn't no royalty on the land. BS. We ain't went nowhere. We just had to fight this war and go through this amnesia and try to remember who we was so we could tell our people about the lies they told. So they can break their mind free from the psychological programming. One of the things I was studying is the deprogramming of cult victims. The hardest thing to get a programmed cult victim to do is think outside of the paradigm of the cult. And the government is its own cult. And it uses the media, the news, the TV shows, the radio stations, the programming selection. Is all of that is used to control how people respond in the society. Those are called social control mechanisms. You don't have to control every individual, control the flow of the group. Because according to Gustave Le Bon, author of The Crowd, if you can control the antagonist and the protagonist, you can control the whole crowd with the least amount of effort. In other words, they leaders.
Both sides.
Yeah. So you got the leader and the anti-leader.
Mm-hmm.
Anti-leader telling everybody to be your own leader, but most people not leaders, so they don't know what you're talking about. You just sound like you're saying something cool, but it don't apply to their life.
Mm-hmm.
The real leader is trying to tell them how to make it apply to the life they live in order to live their best life. Right? So the anti-leader condemning them for not being leadership material so that they won't need a leader. But the leader is telling them you can lead your life from where you at. All you got to do is project in your mind where you want to go. You got a built-in GPS system for success.
Oh,
but you have to control your own narrative.
and that is so true. That is so true. I share with that you gosh, I guess did a little excerpt from my book that I'm working on, and that's what it speaks to. It speaks to that, and I'm gonna just share with you all. It says this is an excerpt from my book. It's coming from you are everything and nothing and or no thing. Your idea of the world is everything, and at any time that changes, your worldview changes. With what you think at birth, you don't know you're a blank canvas that can become an artistic masterpiece or a ghoulish nightmare, or that you are raw potential and endless possibility. What makes a difference is who or what applies the brushstrokes of your life, your being. The final nugget of truth is that you are what you let or allow yourself to become. And so that's a reality that most folks don't exercise because we're so programmed by who and what we can be and who we are that we never step out of the boundaries that have been placed. Like you said, when the Catholic Church said, "Give me the child," in the first 7 years, and I'll show you the man. Let me paint the canvas of his or her life. And we got to get to the place where we teach the children, instruct the children that they are the artists and that they can write the canvas and paint the canvas of their own lives and make decisions. Not go to school and be told, oh, you don't have to be what you were born, and be encouraged to follow the what is it, the herd mentality, like lemmings. They all going off the ledge together. Don't know why the first one might have been depressed and despondent, but everybody else is just following the leader into destruction. And so we have been, as a people, we have been indoctrinated and regimented into certain constraints, and folks are afraid. And when they do try to get out of it, like that old crab in the barrel syndrome, you always got the other ones like pulling them down. We don't want you can't get out, you can't leave us. But yes, you can, and you must. We're gonna have to get some folks to get out and lead the way into some level of victory. So yeah, I mean, it's so important. Mindset. Let me see. Oh, what? I'm just looking. They were talking about some other folks that just so is there anything going on in the Vatican in addition to the Church of Canterbury?
I haven't seen anything recently that I'm aware of.
Unless folks thought that the Bishop of Canterbury was attached to the Vatican.
That's possible because a lot of people don't know that it's a whole separate system of church based off of a divorce dispute.
Okay. So there were some questions on here about the fact that they said, and I can't find it, y'all, but a couple people touched on the fact that Elon Musk said that he was going to, I guess, file for to own the United States. And I mean, it's up for the owning. It's a corporation, right? It's a corporation. So I mean, it's not the country. It's the corporate entity, right?
That's all it is.
And so it's not the land, it's the corporation in 10 square miles we call Washington, D.C.
When we staked that totem pole in 2017, we reclaimed that 10 square miles for the tribes.
Okay.
That was the purpose of the totem pole ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
This has been an ongoing process of different people across the land doing different parts, right? And that's why I be showing them so many receipts, because I got to show them all these people is doing a part. And when you put it all together, it shows the working together of the tribes by every one of the chiefs that's doing the work. They just doing their part. And then somebody got to tie it all together and show y'all where they at in order for you to go get the receipts. But people keep taking sides. And as soon as they take sides, they get stuck in dogma.
Yeah.
You just need the receipt. You don't need to take a side.
Right.
Because it's trickery. And the only way for the trick to work is you got to select one of the false sides they gave you. They gave us a whole dodo bird, told us it was an eagle. Left wing, right wing, dodo bird.
This is okay. Greetings. Is it safe to say DJT is soon to become president of the Republic since the U.S. corporation is defunct?
He was the president of the Republic the first time he was elected. The Biden Harris administration was an interim stalling session to give them enough time to run the military operations of rounding up the dirty players, the deep state.
And that's what I was talking about earlier. You know, the people that went to the, is it called GT or Gitmo or whatever they call it, are those, you know, we haven't seen certain folks. So I mean, I think it's odd that particularly in Hollywood, there's been a lot of missing
celebrities
that used to be, every time something came out, they were in it. Now you have all these like, who's that? I mean, they're newbies coming on board.
All you gotta do is think about it. Where John Kerry at? Why he ain't helped Kamala with her campaign? He is one of the premier Democrats, ain't he?
I guess.
You know, he ran against Bush.
Oh, Kerry.
Yeah.
I thought you said Jim Kerry. John Kerry. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where is he?
Yeah. Okay.
Got Mo?
Right. Why we ain't heard nothing from Jeb or Joe or George? Where they at?
Look, they get those letters at the funeral, those little note cards.
Yeah, they got the letters.
That was their invites. Their tickets. Maybe they were given tickets to get well.
You used to have a whole lot of people from all around, all the senators and congressmen used to lobby for their party.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that? That was only a couple of elections ago.
We still have them here locally, but I don't know where, you know.
Right, but the majority of the cast of characters, right? They ain't showing up. Listen, the chairman of the Federal Reserve was told by the Trump administration to resign. He said he not. Yeah, this just happened like in the last 2 days.
Okay.
All right. He said he not going to resign because Trump don't have the capability to compel him to resign. His ass going to Gitmo. Okay. The Federal Reserve was the bankers that was waging the war. They told us that. I went over that on Young Elder channel when on my What Patriots Need to Know video, because most of us don't know. They declared war on us, but they didn't tell us. So we don't know that they fighting a war against us while we going about our day to day.
Well,
the war not new.
Like the war is going on, especially when you look at the immigrant situation. Like some folks say, "Well, damn, I need to leave, come back in, and with no papers, and declare myself." Yeah.
Election results came in, and within 24 hours, it's a tentative talks for the Russian-Ukraine truce. The resistance in Gaza is offering peace to the Israelis. The Israeli government, they going to prison too. I want to chop the head of what's their president name? Netanyahu. I want to be the one pull the lever on his guillotine.
Well, somebody says, what's going to happen with the illegal immigrants, being that Trump said he will deport them? Do you think they will be a problem?
No. Look, you got people not paying attention. Nobody don't just up and leave home and take their whole family on a promise. No common sense adult. Them people running from something, right? And whatever they running from, they coming over here trying to get some kind of security. They feeding us another narrative, like them people would rather be at home safe than having to run up here.
But what about the people that are here that don't have housing, that are unhoused, that are unfed, that are getting medical attention, they just folks and they from here. What about those folks with all these new people?
When the new system come online, everything gonna be free, damn near. Healthcare. The new healthcare technologies is gonna be on display at the World's Fair. And some of that stuff gonna blow people mind. Yeah, the Iowa World Fair coming up.
In Iowa?
Yeah.
Well, way out there.
I've been telling people this for like 5 years. About 2.5 years ago, Trump came out and announced it. And people was like, Trump just announced what you've been saying. I call it Mardi Gras. I call it National Mardi Gras. He called it the 250-year national celebration.
Somebody wants to know what kind of foreign relations do we have with South America?
South America, that look like legendary Top Cat right there. You got different countries in South America, and once the tribes back in charge, our diplomatic relations is going to be so much better than they is under this corporate tyranny we under. They under the same corporate tyranny. That's why the CIA assassinated Chavez, because he wasn't buying it. Anybody that was resistant to the corporate domination of their land, the U.S. government sent the CIA to execute them or orchestrate their execution or assist in a coup to overthrow them. We over here in La La Land not knowing that these people using our name to do their dirt around the world. Laurent Kabila.
Our name or individual, what the names that they created?
No, the using the country's name.
Okay.
Before 1492, the United States had a reputation around the world as being send us your orphans, your downtrodden, and your lost, so we can help repair their soul. This was like a religious mecca to the rest of the world. This was Atlantis capital in Arizona. But after the Anunnaki Wars and everything was decimated and they started rebuilding, they come with this out of Africa story. But the people was created over here. The laboratories that they was creating people was in Teotihuacan. Right? So if they don't know that, then they're going to be stuck on that out of Africa theory to justify the false narrative of the people that want to control them. The oldest human remains, they told us, was Lucy in the Odevar gods, but she wasn't even a human. She was an Australopithecine, right? Which is supposed to be like a pre-human prototype. It was humans walking around contemporary with Lucy. But they lived thousands and thousands of years, so they don't have burial sites that's common. Normally, their burial sites became some type of shrine, right? And now, all of those ancient shrines, they still here.
I mean, Grand Canyon in places, Ohio.
Yeah.
Mounds.
That's what a lot of the mounds became ritual sites based on it being a burial site of an ancestor, a specific ancestor. That's why they all over the land and they ain't just concentrated in one spot, because it's not one bloodline of ancestor. It's several bloodlines of many ancestors.
And are they as large as they are because the people were large?
No, they use them and then they exalt the place of the burial. Okay. Because the ancestor is hereby being exalted. This is what gave rise to the concept of the construction of energy centers in the form of pyramids, because we was using the kinetic energy and the resonant frequency of the ancestor to calibrate us to a certain pitch. It's just like going to get your radio adjusted to get rid of the static so you can hear a clear channel. And we used those locations, and sometimes we had set up temples on top of them. Sometimes the temple was at the base of them, but all of the different cultures is not the same. You had different tribes that did their thing differently, but it had a similar appeal to it across the land. Right. So every family had a part of the family responsible for taking care of the deceased, the family death doula.
Okay.
Right. And that family was normally kept that tradition and became the mortuary, the funeral home owners in modern times.
Yes. Wow. That's a, yeah. But we're at a place now. Somebody says I need to get, where did I see that? Yeah. I'll probably get that. I was looking for it said, somebody said I need to get you and the legendary Top Cat on here together. So I need to figure out how to get in touch with him.
Top Cat, woo, they think my memory, my memory, okay. Dude. And then me and him and Dane got a chance to talk. And it was just so refreshing talking to somebody that actually knew what you was talking about.
Right.
And when you discussing the history of our people, they actually know what I'm talking about. So I might say something, and then Top Cat might drop the case in law that's referring to it, or the legislation or the treaty. Right. The only way I do that, I be thinking about something, and I said, which treaty was that? And then I got to go look the treaty up. He called it right up. Some of them I remember because they use so much that I have to remember them because I'm using them so often, they just stick out.
Well, I have to get you both. I know how to get in touch with you. I have to, see if I can get his information. I'm pretty sure if you don't have it, I'll get it from Sister Freedom.
Yeah, Sister Freedom, get right in touch with him because that's who I was gonna call.
Yeah.
We'll get in touch with him. Sister Freedom,
yeah, she know everybody.
Sister Freedom don't play.
No, she and I've been buddies and colleagues for years and years, and we live here in the same town, so I can call her up or go to her house and say, "Give me that information." But what do you recommend for and before what do you recommend if you have any recommendations for those listening and those who will be listening to this to do going forward? I know a lot of folks, we try to take our hands off the selection process and stuff, but how should we be functioning in
my biggest concern is when they declare martial law, that the teenagers, teenage boys that like to be out on the block, their parents have enough sense talked into them to stay out them people way, because they got some real horrible people, and I really would hate to see them get caught up in somebody else's cleanup.
Right. So what you're recommending is that parents have a sit down talk with their children to say, look, when this thing happened, this is serious, and they taking no prisoners. They taking you out.
Because one of the things they're gonna be arresting, a lot of these police gonna shoot back at them because they think they untouchable. They think they the closest living thing to God. So when they tell them that you under arrest, the police gonna be like, "You can't arrest me. I'm gonna arrest you," and that's gonna be problems in some places, especially some of these good old boys departments down in the holler. But that's why I did that video, what patriots need to know, because they need to know who they cleaning up. They not coming for us. They coming to get all of them dirty judges and them crooked state's attorneys and DAs, them bar members. That's who they coming to get. And some of them people so rich, they got private military, so you need special forces. Because National Guard under their regular training is not qualified to deal with a lot of these private militaries that's probably better trained than half the militaries of the world. So you need specialists.
Yeah.
And that's why I
So
was
I
talking about
know
that law they passed
movies
earlier.
lately. There's a lot of movies, like I said, with these folks I never heard of, but most of these movies are like these military special ops things. They go in here and they got an elite team of folks, and I hadn't even paid attention to them, but maybe I need to pay more attention because maybe all of them are coming out like that because they're saying, look, you could be, caught up and people get caught up in the crossfire of these because they're in pursuit of their target, and anybody in the way, collateral damage.
Yeah. And but you gotta remember this. It's not gonna be the National Guard fault that the police run into crowds of people trying to get away. Because they already know what they're doing. They already know they ain't supposed to be here. The ones that actually study what they manuals and handbooks say. So when they get to rounding them up, I got the same amount of sympathy for them they've been having for us for the last 450 years, 500 years. They ain't had no sympathy for us. I got that same amount of sympathy for them. Wow. They created the condition, so the condition they created, they have to suffer for their own indiscretions. That's not my problem, and it's not ours. Yeah. We just don't want our children to get caught in the crossfire.
So need to school them. Do you think they're going to actually get rid of or shut down TikTok? Like, what's the plan? I mean, I think they made some legislation that they had to either sell or to somebody, I guess, that was from
Look,
America.
if they have to sell TikTok to somebody that live over here, Elon Musk gonna buy it.
That's what I figured, but I was wondering because a lot of information comes out through TikTok. I don't know where the negative part is because I don't see those things, but the stuff I see, these young people, mainly young people of all ethnicities, are putting out truth bombs. They dropping truth bombs right and left, and they destroying a lot of the narratives that we've been, indoctrinated to. And I don't know where they're getting it from, but I'm glad they're getting it. I'm like, well, they're gonna do what it's going. Because then other people compile these little, snippets and put it together on their YouTube page, and we get to see all, these things. And I think that with more people see these things, it'll help more people at least think about, maybe I've been lied to, maybe I've been bamboozled, maybe I need to study deeper than what, the school said, the church said, my mom and them said. And do you think we're going to see full disclosure with regard to like supposedly extraterrestrials and the different interterrestrial ones that live inner Earth and
whatever it is, whether they extraterrestrials, whether they intergalactic beings, whether they future humans coming back to the past, whether they from Shambhala in the center, or we about to see something. I don't know where they came from. I don't really care. I'm more concerned about us on the ground than the people that's going to be coming out the sky. How they got up there, I don't know. Where they coming from, I don't know. But I know they're going to show up because they've been showing up already. And when the Pentagon tell you they here letting off ships, you should probably consider that they might be finally coming out with a disclosure. And then they use, for credibility, a Harvard professor verified it on a peer review.
Oh, wow.
So they saying somebody up there.
Or out there interdimensionally,
Wherever they from, they here. Because the government don't just tell you they here because they want to keep it covered up long as they can. Now they telling you they here.
Here somebody says, we are here. That's a disclosure right here on the channel. They're here. Oh, wow. Listen, so it's like 1,400 folk on the channel, and I want to make sure that we don't we don't leave without addressing, how our Grand Sheik is doing.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure that, that you all know, first of all, that we appreciate everyone who has given to the GoFundMe, whether you're giving via GoFundMe or PayPal or Zelle or whatever Cash App. We appreciate the fact that there are those of you who care enough that are not going through why isn't he got this, and why we wish he had those things and we didn't have to ask anybody to do anything. But the truth be told, he didn't have any medical insurance. He's not on the grid. He's off the grid. He hadn't had, any type of examinations and medical interactions for over 50 years, and we're trying to help him preserve him, because, and you and I talked about, what people thought you were trying to retire him, but you're saying no. You said that a while ago. He's done a lot. He's done so much. He should be able to do what he wants to, which means if he didn't want to teach anymore, he doesn't have to, because he's put a lot out there. But now we've come to a place where he has lost sight in his left eye, which is one of the issues what he has with his eyes, and in trying to make sure he doesn't lose sight in the right eye. He's had some oral. He has a surgery coming up on Friday, oral surgery. He has some medical, general overall people are reaching out, and he's getting care. We're able for what people have given to help us, be able to, I know we don't pay, but pay for those services of those doctors, trying to go to doctors that are more holistic and so forth. But to be honest, some of the things that he needs done, it speaks to specialist care and surgery, and so forth. So I did put an update on the GoFundMe page, for anybody who still wants to, participate and to give. I think I want to make sure I put it up here. If you, this right here, if you want the links to donate via either, Cash App, Zelle, straight from the GoFundMe page, if you text the word donate to this number, then I will send you the links. I will say there was Brother Darnell, if you're listening, I think out in Cali, a brother sent a money order for 300 notes. I'm just hoping he's on here and then he sees this, but he actually sent the receipt and kept the money order. So he tore it from me. I hope he didn't throw it away. But Brother Darnell, you know who you are that sent the 300 notes. What do you call it? What did I say? Money order. But you sent us the wrong end. You sent us the receipt part and the receipt where he paid for it, but he kept the money order. So he needs to make sure he didn't throw that away, and maybe he wants to send us the actual money order. But we appreciate everything, that anybody has done. Some people have been mailing donations either here or down to the headquarters in Maryland territory where he is. And Prime Minister is making sure, he gets to his appointments and so forth. And we, I don't expect to have him back on the show, through the end of this year, because the surgeries and things, he needs to rest. You know what I mean? He absolutely needs to rest, because if some people who have his number, some folks are calling him. I know they've taken his phone away from him. He gets it back every now and then, but because he'll have a long drawn conversation with somebody, and it sounds normal, but he needs the rest.
Not feeling well. Yeah. Remember, I said that because I know people like Taj. Taj don't trust the system, right? Mm-hmm. And then he's doing what's called the work from the heart. So he suffered from the same thing as a lot of caregivers, where you're so busy trying to get a message out and educate people that you forget to take care of yourself.
Right.
A lot of mothers, this is why you had sister groups. A lot of mothers get into the caregiver syndrome too, become stressed out and can't handle their kids no more, become abusive because they don't have no outlet. They don't have no recovery time. Well, he need to recover. Let the man recover. Yep. And this is what I was talking about, because I know how he is, so I can't tell him to go see one of these doctors when he don't trust them.
Right. Right. So yes, we're trying to get the, some. There's been some. I think some of his physicians that he's been seeing are like Muslim, Islamic, some folks that because Prime Minister was is a retired nurse, but and an herbalist. So after having worked in that field, she kind of knows, and she grew up. She's one of the few people I know who's grown almost as me, and was born knowing she was a Moor. She grew up in a Moor. She's never been anybody else. She didn't change any name or anything when she was born. That's the the name she was given, and so she's always in the vein of what's holistic and what's versus what might she doesn't. He can't take it. She's not gonna let him have anything that got gelatin capsules in it, regardless of what's inside. If it's good in there, if it's in gelatin, she's make sure he's not. She's very holistic. So taking him to when we checked into the cost for the eyes and the surgery, we're looking at $30 to $120,000 when you have his kind of problem and no insurance, and he's they already determined that he is blind in the left eye. Whether or not they're gonna be able to restore it, I don't know. But all I know is right now it's about him resting and getting himself together. He's gonna see his 89th, 89th, and put 10 more years, 79th solar return, February 14th, and we want him to enjoy it, and maybe have the surgeries past him. Maybe hopefully he'll be able to get the eye surgery and stuff taken care of before then, we're hoping. So just wanted to give you all an update on that and keep sending positive energies. We've had our naysayers. We've had folks creating videos and saying we're doing a hoax, but there's no way in the world I would come out here and try to coax people into giving their hard-earned fiat for a lie that can be easily verified. You know what I mean? There's no way. And so
Then some people think if you walk in the righteous path that your health is supposed to stay pristine and pure. That's not the case.
Yeah.
You got a lot of people that try to do what's right and end up with debilitating illnesses because of the society we live in is geared toward us becoming ill.
Right.
So
and he's like you said, he's worked so hard. He hasn't paid attention to him. He wants to fix everybody else's stuff, and he was letting himself go and not stay and too proud. I think sometimes especially men, y'all tend to be proud about your and he first of all, I'm hoping that he gets delivered from Dollar Tree snacks, and I know he's not getting them down where he is because that he loves Dollar Tree snacks. You know what I mean? And he doesn't eat a lot of things, but he may just eat fish, something like that, but not a lot of anything else nutritionist. He's nutritionist, so he's nutritious rather. So now he's getting the 3 nutritious meals. He's getting fed as a vegan, so he's getting a vegan diet. And he's not going Dollar Tree, and he's not putting Dollar Tree eye drops in his eyes, which I'm pretty sure have contributed to this situation. But just wanted to give you all an update, right, on what is what's going on. And like I said, totally appreciate everybody's suggestions and recommendations, and your love and your fiat that you're sending. Your love. Thank you. I did put an update on the GoFundMe channel. So on the GoFundMe page. So I did put an update there yesterday, and we'll be doing updates periodically. But like I said, keep him in your thoughts and prayers because he is going to have some oral surgery on Friday, and we'll make sure hopefully he's not in a lot of in any pain. Hopefully, from that surgery. Somebody who's not been in that kind of care for so long. Everything I would assume hurts, so that, but also I want to let you all know, since it's like 1,300, and so from anybody that can either travel or is in the let me take this down so you can see it. Well, you can see this part. We actually are doing our last in-person session of the year. We thought we weren't going to do anything in November because we thought the fourth Friday was the week of Thanksgiving and for those who celebrated, but the fourth Friday is not. And so we are having our session on the 22nd of November. We have Teach and Lady J, who have been teaching us about living in private. A lot of you all have come from all over the country for our fourth Friday event. This one you want to be at, because not only do we have Teach and Lady J, we have our sister Arametha L, who's coming in from Georgia Territory to teach you about how to live in private and how to create express trust. She is awesome, and she wants to give our people this information. So you want to know how to do this, and she and about 100 plus members of her, as she said, her clan, her tribe, her family live under express trust, and they doing it up. So we need to know this. And then last but not least, we got Brother Dave Levy Bay, who's a master herbalist. He's an iridologist. So he does kinesiology and so forth. He's going to be there. Only a 20-note donation for those who are 18 and over. Children are free. I think we'll have some food there this time, but just want you all to come out if you can and be a part of our last session for the year. And because we won't be doing anything else until, I don't know, maybe January, February, March, but our big event is going to be in June of 2025. And we're expanding it by a day. It's going to be 4 days instead of 3, because the teaching it's called Living in a Private. It's called Private Lives, a how-to intensive. So when you come out of the next year's conference, you should be able to know how to. They're going to condensing. They're working right now to condense an 8-week course in those 3 days, because the 4th day is our holistic day. So we want you to come and be a part of that, but we're just giving you a heads up. And now I'm going to switch back to you, because I knew I had to put it in there before you were gone, because if you end it and I tried to talk about this, they're going to be gone, right? Look, I know how these Negroes are. They were like, oh, you're not talking, she's giving an ad. So now you want to hear it. See, some of them that already left because I started talking about, but it's still 1,300 plus of you here. So we got more time. I got as much time as you want. I just wanted to put that in there in between, because I know how people is. Look how they is. So, and listen, I'm drinking soursop tea. So anybody that thinks this is something else, this is soursop tea. Just so you know.
I'm not a big drinker, but if I was a big drinker, I probably would be drinking something.
Yeah, well, this is tea. This soursop is good for what ails you. So anyway,
I do like a nice shot of cognac on ice.
Oh, I don't drink either, but somehow the few times that I've looked at Club Shay Shay, I'd be like, I need to taste that stuff. Everybody talking about how smooth it is. I'm not a drinker, probably wouldn't be smooth to me. But
If you're not a drinker, that means your throat gonna taste like you drunk straight alcohol.
Oh, see, I can't do that.
But if you're a drinker, it don't mean the same as it do for non-drinkers. So smooth for a non-drinker don't mean smooth. It only means smooth for other drinkers.
Okay. Well, I buy soursop leaves. There's a sister here she's an African sister from Africa, has a store, and I can buy a bag of the leaves, not crumbled up in tea bags. I mean, a big bag of. So I throw like about 15, 20 leaves in the pot and boil. After the water boils, and then let them simmer and make myself some soursop tea. Really good. Where can we get the soursop? Oh, I get mine from right down the street. No, but you know what? I actually bought, believe it or not, y'all, I bought soursop tea bags. So it's like, where they crunch the leaves up, put them in bags on Temu. But I just like using the whole big leaves out of the sister's bag, because, she's, it's like $16, and I could probably end up making like gallons of it with what I get. But Temu actually does sell. Just look on Amazon or something like that if you're not, if you're not in this area or in the area that has a holistic store. But they have a store right here that sells the leaves, and I get the leaves and make the tea. Somebody else said, "Oh, I like that." So you can get at their yard in Jamaica. So there's somebody right here that has them in their yard, and that's what's up. That's what's up. Somebody said, "Happy birthday!" Is it your birthday?
My birthday was Sunday.
Oh, it's your birthday. Oh, listen. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. I'm gonna put your look, I can't get anything. You can't get it Rhode Island, but you can get some soursop tea on Amazon. They'll ship to anywhere. Let me put this. I'm gonna put this back up here. So listen, thank you for. I didn't even know it was your birthday. Isn't that something?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the GoFundMe link. Like I said, for anybody that doesn't want to text me, you take a shot of that. That takes you right to the GoFundMe, fund me, and this right here. If you text me, the word donate, I'll give you all the links because GoFundMe, PayPal, Cash App, Zelle. But let me go back up here. It's I don't have Cash App. They stole our Cash App. But here, show Chief some love. So I want to make sure. Reason why I put that his like $ sick SIKAPE, not and then I put Rodney Hayes there because there's somebody else there that got something out there that says Rod Hayes. This is the one that says Rodney Hayes is our chief. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Chief. Yeah. So even though the one that says Rod Hayes, we don't know who that is. So some of y'all have been sending to this, whoever that is that did the same thing they did to us, put something up. So they even put our picture up and was getting donations. Put the link up, put the picture, our logo up. I don't know who it was, but it wasn't us. Just like this one right here. If it don't say Rodney Hayes, then it's not Chief. Rodney Hayes. That Rod Hayes is a fraud. It may be really Rod Hayes, but not this Rod Hayes. How about that? And they've probably been getting all kinds of gifts on your behalf. So some parting words for us before we go.
Parting words would be this: keep your eye on current events because stuff is about to pick up in the next couple weeks, and we about to know more than we want to know.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So when you say that more than we want to know, you mean it's gonna be like overwhelming for some folks.
Some people are not gonna be able to take it.
Wow.
Because they can't believe that the world that they live in could be so dark and callous. That's why a lot of good men got to do a lot of bad stuff to a lot of horrible people.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So.
All righty then. I think that you look tired. I feel tired. We've been on here a long time. We could talk a long time, but we're gonna save something for the next time. How's that?
Okay. You covered a lot of territory.
I know we talked about a lot of different things. Look, what is it? Happy birthday! A lot of happy belated Earth Strong birthday, Chief. Look, happy belated birthday. Yeah, here's some, happy birthday season. And thank you for whoever said that, because I certainly miss it. Because, a lot of times we don't get all the different links of things pop up. So we don't know.
I don't be thinking about my birthday until people start telling me happy birthday unless I'm doing flips.
Okay.
If I'm doing flips, they know when I say 11:10, born again, that's because that's the day I came in, initiated 10 toes down. So I say 11:10, and then you got the mirror flips, right? 10-11, right? You got 11-1.
Okay.
Right? You got 1-11. So this 11-11 portal goes to the 1-11 portal.
And that portal is
January 11th.
Okay.
So the portal, this is a turnaround portal. Things come back that was formerly lost. It's the return cycle on the closeout.
Said Kamala might be president even next week. Biden might step down.
They've been ran a coup on Biden. They came out and talked about it about a month ago when they made him step down from running for president. And they was talking about they did an in-house coup to remove Biden. Biden ain't been the president since he went for that colonoscopy because they said he had Alzheimer's and they can't put him in a position to make decisions. So Kamala been the de facto president ever since then.
Mm. Wow.
Remember, when the president go into anesthesia, the vice president becomes the acting president. Most of us ain't paid this stuff no attention. So when Kamala became the acting president, the only way Joe Biden, he had to come out of anesthesia in case he come out with brain damage.
He went in with brain damage.
Right. No. He went in with the character went in with Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that when the character come out of anesthesia, he can never be put back in power because he's not cognitively astute. He can't make decisions. And that's why he sounded like a babbling idiot for 4 years.
I'm gonna throw this up. It's a totally different subject, but since somebody puts it up, I saw something twice. Is Brother Panic not here with us anymore? I don't know. Do you know?
Who went to the funeral?
You did?
I said, who went to the funeral?
I don't know.
Where is it?
The same people that went to what's his name? Effie. Because I was wondering where he was, where they buried him when they have a funeral for him, but maybe it was because he was such a bad person.
If somebody, the magnitude of Brother Panic, with the amount of people that knew him, there would have been some kind of memorial service. I know
they had some kind of event that you had to buy a ticket to, but I don't know whether that was the memorial or what. But I remember seeing that because I really discovered. We don't know. The answer is we don't know.
Anybody know who's seen the body?
I don't know. That's all I can say. See, I just started something.
I be asking these questions for the people that be wanting to know to look a little deeper. Don't just take the cover story. Because everybody we think gone ain't gone. And a lot of people that we think still here is being played by skin mask and deep fake technology.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. Yep. I'm just throwing.
Thank y'all for the solar return wishes.
Yeah, trying to click on some of them. Okay. Right. There we go. So we thank you. I thank you. I thank each and every one of you. Know I love y'all. Those of you who come be with us next Friday, the 22nd, it's gonna be, especially if you want to know, how to you need to connect with the teaching Lady J and Sister Armenta L rather, and Brother Dave, but especially those that like, how do I get out of this? How do I get out? We're gonna have the answers next Friday, the 22nd, 22. That's a number. That's a good number, right?
Tomorrow's gonna be a brighter day. That's all I can tell y'all.
Right.
Exactly. I can't tell you.
Okay. All right. Yep. Okay. So we get ready to get out of here. I'm just kind of click up. I'm sitting in, bringing some of the. I don't want to ignore some of you, but thank you. Thank you for being here. We're gonna go out with. I'm gonna just put the banner up so y'all can know to come on and be here on next Friday. Those last time we had one sister traveled all the way from California for our Friday night session. We had people from Indianapolis and from Atlanta and everything. I mean, it was we had to bring chairs up from the downstairs because we didn't have enough room for everybody, enough seats rather for everyone. So I hope to see that and you all would come and get this information that's not going to be available on tape. because we don't take those sessions. Because every time we do those, we're talking about stuff that we don't want, to put out there in the open public. So you have to come and get it, and you want to make the connect with them, and you have to meet them here. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. G.
Love you too, Chief. Love you too. Okay, y'all, we out of here. Just give me a chance to put this little banner up so y'all have something to see while we're going out. All right, we love you. We love you, love you, love you. Really? Oh shit. Yeah, that's me. Really? Oh shit. Yeah, that's me. Dr. G. 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 Really? Oh shit. Yeah, that's me.